channel. Today I've been playing with tea dyeing and stenciling some paper, and I'm just really loving how it's turning out. So it's very vintage, cool looking. So I got these stencils on AliExpress a few months ago. And they have several different. I love this one. I've got quite a few, or 4 different designs. I'm just using these 2 for today. And then I've also picked up this paper. I found this entire box full of rice paper. You can see there's a lot of paper in there. It's a vintage box of paper. I'm not sure how much they are now, but I love this rice paper. And I've had it for a long time, and I've just decided, you know what, I need to start using that in my junk journals and things. So I am going to be working on those today. So I started playing with some tea because I've been making tea every day. So I've just got some tea bags after I made the tea. And I'll show you how I did this here in just a minute, but I'm really liking how these turned out. So this one just looks pretty cool and vintage, and I'm also using some distress ink and walnut stain. So this one was obviously a lot. Okay, so this one was actually just done with tea on a plain piece of paper. As you can see, the tea kind of went underneath the stencil a little bit, but that's okay. I kind of like that. And I did like how this turned out. This is actually just tea, no ink. So I laid the stencil down, and then I just gently patted the tea bag, kind of a drier tea bag, over the top. At the top is where I started, so there was more water in the bag, but then at the bottom it was a little bit more dried out. So you can still get a nice faint print from just pouncing a tea bag over the top of the stencil, and that's kind of fun. But then these, I went and I washed the paper with the bag. I just kind of rubbed the paper back and forth over the bag, and then I laid the stencil down, and then I took my little brush, which I got at the Dollar Tree. I got one of those foundation brushes, and these are surprisingly very, very nice. It took me a while to find one. I kept finding the little skinny ones, but not the foundation brush. And then I finally looked onto one, and I have to say that I absolutely love it. It is so thick and soft, and it's not at all what you would think a dollar store item would be. It's very well made. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, that's those. And then I did one. Okay, so those are all done with that. And then these, I did the same thing, a wash of tea, and then the stencil with the distress ink. And then this one was just the bag. I added a little water to the bag because it was getting too dry, and it was really wet. So then after I used the stencil and stuff, it just kind of faded into the water, which kind of gave it a very washed out watercolor look. And since it's in a floral pattern, it's okay. So to lose some of those details, you still get that kind of look. And then this one was just a plain piece of paper with the stencil and ink, no tea. So you get a lot more crisp lines than you do with the others. So it just depends on what you're wanting. You know, if you're wanting a more vintage washed out look, you can use the tea wash. And if you're wanting something more crisp, then you can use just the stencil with the ink. I tend to like the ones with the tea wash, and I just love the way rice paper sounds. It's just so crinkly and yummy. Some people don't like that sound. I've heard, people don't like the sound the paper makes after you tea dye it and stuff, but rice paper is just that way by itself normally. So I'm just going to do a quick demo to do one sheet while you're sitting here with me. Just going to put a piece of plastic down. So literally all I did was wipe the sheet with tea. Rice paper has a tendency to roll up on the edges. If it's giving you a hard time, you can rub some on your surface, and then you can stick your rice paper down and it'll stick to the tea and kind of hold the sides down. So just wipe the surface down a little bit. Okay. Let me use this one because it's a little bit wetter. Now you don't want it to be saturated. You want it to be just almost dry, but not. Just very, very light with the water or with the tea, because you don't want it to, I mean, unless you want that really washed out look, and in that case you can add more tea. So I've got my tea down, and now my stencil is kind of sticking to the tea a little bit, and I'm just going to rub it. And I'm not putting the same amount on every part. Some little parts I'm getting darker, and some of them I'm getting lighter. And that is to kind of get that kind of mottled, aged look. It's, I really like that kind of look. Okay, I'll do this part. I really like to kind of accentuate Paris a little bit. And number 4, for some reason, I just like that part of the stencil. And the rest just kind of gets uneven coverage. But definitely making sure it all gets coverage, just not. So you can kind of see how there's darker parts here and there, and that will actually show up on your stenciling. So then what you do is pull your stencil up, and you get a lovely vintage print. So as you can see here, where I've done it a little bit darker and then lighter over here, it just kind of gives it that cool vintage, like part of it's faded over time and then part of it didn't, you know, just kind of gives that extra bit of dimension to the print. And so then all you got to do is just let that dry, and you've got some great paper to use in your junk journal. So you could, you know, take this and fold it, and you've got a cool page for a junk journal, you know. Or you could take this part, cut it out, and put it on a piece of, like a box, some cardboard or something, and make kind of a vintage looking background for a vintage mixed media piece or something like that. Anyway, lots of uses for those, and it's very simple and easy, and it just kind of like, as the ink sets on the tea, some of it, depending on how much how much tea there is, see, like this part is still wet because it got a little bit more tea, and this part is already dry, but this part is already kind of diffusing a little bit, so it's just making it that much softer looking, and it gives it kind of the look like it hasn't been stenciled. Especially when you do, do a little dark, a little light, a little dark. It just kind of takes away from that stenciled, hard, chiseled, printed look, and it makes it look more vintage. So anyways, thought I would share that with you guys real quick. Be on the lookout. I'm about to hit 700 subscribers, and I really appreciate all of my subscribers. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. As soon as I hit 700 subscribers, I'm going to be announcing a challenge. It is my 700 subscriber giveaway challenge, and hopefully you guys will come back. If you're a junk journaler, or a mixed media artist, or just someone who enjoys playing with paper, hopefully you will join that challenge. But trying to get to that 700 mark, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!